Do you love breakdowns? Do you need stats? Do you crave insight? Download the AllStar app. UFC, Bellator, PFL 1 Championship, and more. Ad-free, fully customizable. Download the best app in the business. Link in descriptions. Now, main event time. You got Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili. A bantamweight clash, one for the books right here. I think it's a great fight. Let's talk about Yan first. Number 2 in the rankings, 30 years old, switch stance fighter, 16-4 record, 8-3 in the UFC on a 2-fight skid. Wins over Corey Sandhagen and Jose Aldo, 50% finishing rate, 7 KOs, 1 sub, around 5 months between fights. Merab, number 3 in the rankings, 32 years old, orthodox, 15-4 record, 8-2 in the UFC on an 8-fight win streak. Wins over Jose Aldo, Cody Stamann, and Marlon Moraes. 27% finishing rate, 3 KOs, 1 sub, around 7 months between fights for him, and he is sitting as the underdog. Die Hard, this is a fun one for all of us. It's going to be a treat. What do you see?
I can't wait for this fight. I just can't wait for this fight, you guys. I have been waiting for one thing and one thing only in this division, and that's 5-round Merab Dvalishvili. This man is built to go 5 rounds. He's got cardio off the charts. He never slows down. He chain grapples. He doesn't hold people down. He takes them down 6 times per round. Like, that's what he does. I've been waiting to see him in this exact kind of spot. And Petr Yan, he's fallen on tough times recently, right? He's 1-3 in his last 4 fights, but you could very much make the argument that he should be 4-0 and still have a belt wrapped around his waist. Those 2 split decisions, very close fights that most people scored the other way. And then, of course, the illegal knee to Aljo, he was winning that fight pretty clearly the first time around before the illegal shot happened. So this is a great fight that really is a championship caliber matchup here in the main event. The thing for me is Petr Yan has always really been the guy who's had the better cardio, right? And he kind of plays to his opponent. He reminds me of a Diaz brother. He doesn't play the game for MMA. He goes out there and punches you in the mouth and tries to outstrike you and beat you at your own game sometimes. And he just doesn't score well because of it. He fights close with people because that's how he enjoys fighting. And because of that, he's going to fight close with Merab. Merab's a big underdog coming into this one, and he's the first fighter, I think, in this division that will be able to challenge the cardio of Petr Yan, and he's going to have 5 straight rounds to do it. One thing that we've seen Yan struggle with is starting too slowly. He gives away the first round or two, watching his opponents, downloading that information, seeing what they do well. Merab's the exact opposite. He runs at you like a freight train and tries to put you on your ass in the first, 30 seconds of the fight. So Jan's going to have to fight his way back into this one if he gives away the first round or two. And this ain't the guy. You don't fight your way back in against Merab. You better hang on to those first 1 or 2 rounds if you want to have any shot against this guy on the scorecards. I think Merab wins this, guys. I'm sniffing upset. I don't think Yan lost those last 2 fights. I really don't. I think he's going to lose this one.
J-Spec.
Well, before I get into that, I want to tell everybody a couple of cool new features on the AllStar app. First off, the chat room. The chat room's open, y'all. Let's get together and talk. The other part of that, JHK mentioned it way in the beginning, the head-to-head contest. So I'm inviting everybody, all of you. You heard my record in the beginning. I'm beatable. Come try me. All right, you can win my points. Next. So Trace Pick says, I think we're starting to see a trend where damage is more heavily judged than control. Which even so, Merab doesn't control people well, but he does spam takedowns better than anyone. I think Yan wins via decision. John Davis, this is one of those rare fights when if the fighter I want to win is also the fighter I think will win. Going with Merab. Kamore? Yan should win, but in saying that, he should have beaten Aljo twice as well, and O'Malley. Merab has more of a chance of beating Yan than those 2 should have. Sicko, please, for the love of God, Petr needs to win this. We can't have a lay-and-pray decision fighter as a potential champion. And interrupt this. Technical striking versus technical wrestling. Going with Petr, though. Fans really on this one. Sorry, I got a couple more. Preston, This fight will be a snooze fest with Merab winning all the rounds. Gonzalo, if Jan can neglect the if Jan can neglect the takedowns, even if he makes it hard for Merab, Jan should win this. And the real Tim Schafer, last but not least, Petr Yan is a hard night out for any fighter, but I believe Aljo laid down the blueprint, looking for Merab to build upon that. The fighter poll comes in pretty tight, 57% supporting Mr. Yan. Now, I'm one of those people that think he beat Sugar, but that's neither here nor there, and that's water under the bridge. All right. Is Merab's last name maybe the most fun last name to say in all of MMA? I think it might be, and it would be really fun if he's champion because then we'd all have to say it all the time. Unfortunately, I'm going with Jan. Let's go, Petr.
One thing that I don't know if people are talking about, but Merab was in the corner, I believe, for all those fights that those 2 fights that Aljo had against Petr Yan, and he spent hours and hours studying Petr Yan so Aljo could beat him, and in the training room helping Aljo train for Petr Yan, and now it's vice versa. I think that's going to be a major factor in this fight. You know, everybody talked about how Petr Yan was this 5-round fighter, right? Like he takes some time to get started, but once you hit that 4th and 5th round, it's hard to beat him. I just think this is a stylistically a bad fight for Petr Yan, man. Even though he beat, you could argue that he beat Aljo, who's the champ, and he beat, Sean O'Malley and those styles. But Merab, man, if he's spamming takedowns, I don't know, man. Even it doesn't matter how good your gas tank is. If you're just defending takedowns and you're limiting the time you have on the feet to throw strikes, you're gonna lose rounds. And I think Merab's just gonna win round after round after round after round with his grappling. He has a 27% finishing rate. You think he's gonna finish the fight? Likely not. 27%, right? But he has 15 wins, right? 15 wins, 27% finishing rate. I'm going with Merab, man. I think Merab gets the decision win this one. I think he comes out. He might not have the best performance, but he's gonna have a good performance. And a win over Petr Yan is a pretty damn good win on your resume heading into a new year. So let's see what happens. Before we get to the end of the show, let's get to some of these comments. We got Scared Money. Jan gets him. Everybody going to bet Jan again. Watch. And the line makes no sense. Jan should be at least minus 350. We got Mr. Savage level 9,000. Bro, Merab could not take Aldo down 0 for 16 plus Aljo's war 222. Y'all crazy. We are crazy. That's why we're here. We're crazy as hell.